So I just defeated Uncharted 1, 2, and 3 back to back to back as a newbie. Yes, I've never played these games before. I'm probably the only one in the world that hasn't played these games. And I thought, you know what, I'd come in here today and kind of share my journey of this, sort of like a little video journal of my experience playing these games. And to be honest with you, that really helps me when I write down my thoughts and kind of catalog my thoughts, and I can go back to it years from now and see what I really thought of these games. So I hope you will come along for the ride with me as I talk about Uncharted 1, 2, and 3.
Let's check it out, huh?
Yeah, wait. Something about this feels kind of hinky.
Hinky.
So hey everyone, I'm Clayton Morris. Welcome back to my channel where we just kind of chill out and talk about retro video games and of course brand new games as well, sort of a mix of old and new. So thank you guys so much for subscribing to the channel. So let me just say at the outset, no spoilers, okay? You know me, I'm not a big fan of spoilers. No spoilers in this review. And recently when I did my Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 3 review, a lot of people said, that's funny that you didn't do any spoilers. I appreciated that, but they said, you know what, it's been like how many years, it's been so long that there's gotta be a statute of limitations on spoilers. But I just, hey, if you're gonna jump into these games for the first time, why do you wanna have somebody spoiling it for you? So I will not ruin any part of the story because to me, that's one of the greatest parts of these epic games. They are epic stories. So I will, however, talk about some of the big set piece battles because, how can I not talk about Uncharted without talking about some of these amazing set pieces? I mean, a submarine found in the middle of the jungle.
You act like you've never seen a German U-boat in the middle of the jungle before.
That you have to battle your way through. Yeah, it's not a spoiler, but it is a set piece, so we've got to talk about those. And we're just focusing, by the way, on the Uncharted collection here, which includes the original trilogy, 1, 2, and 3. And I know many people consider Uncharted 4 to be one of the best video games ever made. I haven't played it yet. I'm probably going to hold off on that game. I'm going to let 1, 2, and 3 sort of wash over me and enjoy a few months here of time to think about these games. So maybe I'll come back during the holidays and play Uncharted 4. So I just want to savor the experience, at that time when I do sit down to play number 4. I don't want to cram it all together like I did with the first 3. So sort of like, again, like I did with the Metal Gear Solid review, I played 1, 2, and 3 back to back. You can watch that full video here on the channel. And then I'm going to get to Metal Gear Solid 4 at some point, and yes, I'll play the other games in the series as well. Okay, with that out of the way, grab your treasure map, grab your climbing gear, and get ready because we are about to embark on a freaking kick-ass epic adventure through the Uncharted series, specifically focusing on Uncharted Drake's Fortune, Uncharted 2 Among Thieves, and then Uncharted 3 Drake's Deception. So let me just say this, okay? If the Indiana Jones movies defined adventure for you, like they did for me growing up, then you are in for an absolute treat with these games. So yeah, I missed these games when they first came out. Again, I have a huge gaping hole in my video game timeline where I had no money, I was working nonstop, and I just didn't own a GameCube or a PS3. So now I get to go back and experience these games for the first time, and it's exciting now that I get to experience them for the first time right now. So as a huge fan of Indiana Jones, the thrill of the hunt, ancient mysteries, the sort of larger-than-life personalities, that really defined, my idea of adventure growing up. Car chases, train chases, all of it. And stepping into Nathan Drake's world was like getting handed like a ticket to a thrill ride that just never ends. Like you just can keep going on this ride, just don't get off, And Nathan Drake is our esteemed adventurer, one of the coolest characters in all of video games, in my opinion. But while, both Indiana Jones and Nathan Drake share adventure spirit, I really feel like Drake is pretty unique in this. He's uniquely compelling because at his core, he's a thief, right? He's a charming thief, he's a roguish thief with a heart of gold, yes, but a thief nonetheless. So this sets the stage for a story that, while clearly inspired by those old adventure series, that was also the inspiration for Indiana Jones, it also stands on its own. It stands on its own 2 feet. I mean, Indiana Jones always sought treasures not for personal gain, yes, the glory of finding it, but always for the benefit of humanity, putting those treasures in a museum. He would often say that in the movies. These are meant to be in a museum, right? Not in a personal collection. But Nathan Drake, not so much. And you feel like Drake was one wrong move away from being a bad guy, like he barely became a good guy, even if like a conflicted good guy. So unlike Indiana Jones, who operates more or less within the law, Drake is constantly skirting the law. This means he's one step ahead of both his enemies and sometimes his allies. It's this sort of moral ambiguity that I love that really gives this character extra layers and depth. And it's the struggle that he deals with throughout the game. I love this. He's constantly dealing with this throughout the 3 games. And frankly, it makes for a much more nuanced and enriching gaming experience. That's why, again, I say the story in these games are so compelling. So let's start from the beginning.
Here we go.
Enter Uncharted Drake's Fortune. And this game comes out in 2007 on the PS3. And I have to say, this was the weakest game for me of the 3. But here's the key. I didn't know it at the time. Meaning, I loved this game and realized how much 2 and 3 just expanded and improved the things from the first game. So while I'm playing through number 1, I totally enjoyed it. So we meet Nathan Drake for the first time, a treasure hunter with a lineage supposedly tied to the legendary Sir Francis Drake, and then you're immediately pulled into this game with some pulse-pounding action on a boat. Pirates attack you. There's like no waiting around for the game to start. It just starts, and you're into it, and you dive right into the action. Great action is one thing, right? Great action is one thing, but for me, what makes these games amazing are the characters. I mean, you have Drake's sort of wisecracking personality.
Well.
It's cute.
What?
Because it's a well.
You have Elena Fisher, who's the reporter along for the ride, interviewing Drake's latest treasure hunt.
Are you sure you want to be defiling your ancestors' remains like that?
You make it sound so dirty.
And my favorite character, Victor Sully Sullivan,
Victor Sullivan.
For Christ's sakes.
who kind of reminds me of like maybe a more lawless Jimmy Buffett kind of a character. Like, you can tell he's been to a lot of ports of call around the world. He's the kind of guy that I could picture, sitting there having a beer with Ernest Hemingway or something in some sort of a Havana bar somewhere, with the fans going above him with smoking a cigar. Anyway, I love Sully. So again, no spoilers on the story, but you go from set piece to set piece searching for treasure, battling other treasure hunters. And let me just say, God knows I don't need another open world game right now. And Uncharted are not open world games, at least in the first 4 games. They keep you on a path, they keep you in the dungeons or in the mountains. There's not really much wandering off, just a little bit of time, to find some bonus rewards. You can go off the path a little bit, find some bonus rewards, things like that. But that's about it. And that makes each of these games only about 10 hours long. Perfect. I mean, we're talking like perfect bite-sized games here, and experiences that I wish we could actually get back to in some of these other AAA games out there. We don't need 50-hour games, because I feel like a lot of those games are just, they cram a lot of extra padding into those games just to extend the experience, and they don't need to do that, right? There was even some criticism of like Spider-Man 2 that, it's too short. It's like a 40-hour game. It's like, no, it's not. A 37-hour game. No, it's not too short. I mean, it was just perfect. Any more than that, and you can tell they'd just be cramming stuff in there to make it even longer than that. So let's talk about the gameplay mechanics in Drake's Fortune. They really set a solid foundation for the trilogy. Are they perfect? No, they're not at all, but they're fluid, they're responsive when you're jumping and climbing, much like a spiritual successor to the Tomb Raider series, which was one of my all-time favorite series back in the day. The shootouts are intense, a ton of fun, dodging grenades, grabbing the right weapon for the job, a shotgun, a sniper rifle. I'm a huge fan of sniping, so I love anytime I can get a sniper rifle, I love it. The shooting mechanics in Uncharted haven't aged particularly well, especially when you're using the covering and ducking. You're going around the corner and you have to hide, and it's not perfect, okay? It's aged definitely poorly. And I will say that the precision of the gunfire is not always there. I definitely was aiming. I know I was headshotting certain people, and it was just missing. And I know I had it dead on, but anyway, it was not precise. Some of the ducking and covering, not so great. But anyway, what it lacks for in mechanical precision, it makes up for in atmosphere, storytelling. It makes you forget things because it's just so damn good. I didn't care about the ducking and covering because I just love the game so much, okay? There's a lot of puzzle solving in this game, which you get used to throughout the series. I found myself quite a bit staring at a lot of the puzzles for a while, just kind of walking around, looking around and like, okay, do I need to move this thing over here? Can I climb up to this thing over here and swing back over here to solve it? So it was a lot of fun sort of studying the room to figure it out. Some hidden door would open or unlock some treasure. In all three of these games, there was only one time when I needed the help of Captain YouTube or Captain Internet to help me solve one of these puzzles. Every other time I just took my time, worked through it, and it was really rewarding. I will say that these puzzles strike a fine balance between challenge and accessibility, sort of ensuring that you're engaged without becoming frustrated. And also I will say that it's pretty remarkable that it doesn't really take you out of the story too much. I mean, you're involved in this room trying to solve this puzzle. It doesn't feel like, oh, this is really slowing down the game for me to be here solving this right now. They do keep the pacing really, really going, and I really appreciate that. Let's talk about the characters again, because this is what the series is all about. Nathan Drake is, the embodiment of charisma. He's his roguish charm, a man's man. He's voiced superbly by Nolan North. I mean, he's a character that I instantly started rooting for, despite the fact that he's morally ambiguous at times, let's just say.
We either rescue him, or we beat the crap out of him. Hell, I might just beat the crap out of him anyway.
Then you have Elena Fisher. And at first I found her a bit to be annoying, like a bit of an annoying journalist getting in the way. But then she grew on me, and I realized that she provides the sort of perfect, strong foil to Drake's personality.
Be careful.
Come on. I always am. Ah! I did not see that!
And then you get Sully. All right, Sully. The cigar-chopping mentor, loyal friend.
I'll push, you pull. On 3, ready?
Wait, 1, 2, pull, or 1, 2, 3, pull?
Just pull.
Got it.
And their interactions are such a joy to behold. It reminded me of why video games have become such a threat to movies, right? Because here you have a perfect movie with these three characters. And I get help to make the movie unfold with my trigger finger. And what could be more exciting than that, really helping a movie unfold? So this PS3 era really started those Hollywood discussions about how they were nervous about video games, stealing their market share. You're damn right. You're damn straight they should have been scared. This game was better than any movies that I've seen in the theater this year. And the musical score is fantastic. Hollywood has a right to be scared when you have games like this. So the story in Drake's Fortune is a classic treasure hunt filled with double crosses, ancient mysteries, all the tropes that you'd expect from any adventure tale, yet it's delivered with so much polish and heart that it doesn't feel tropish at all. In fact, it sucks me right into this game, and I couldn't put this controller down. I just kept wanting to play this game. I just enjoy the heck out of it. I mean, Drake and Sully find a freaking World War II German submarine deep in the jungle. Like, why? What the heck's that about? Dead Nazi soldiers inside of it? And then bad guys show up and they have to fight these guys inside of the submarine. So damn awesome. And of course, so many more great scenes like this throughout the game. I will say this, there was something that I didn't really like, and it really took me out of the experience. Again, I won't spoil anything, but you go from normal human characters and normal human enemies to an underground area where humans have gone through a bit of a transformation into something else, something stronger, something creepier, something supernatural. And it honestly felt out of place, like I just walked into Resident Evil 4 or something. I'm not sure why they did this. Story is going along great, and then this weird swerve, and then they kind of almost do the same thing in number 2, and even a little bit in number 3 as well. I feel like it's a weird kind of a swerve, like the weakest part of the stories for me. It doesn't really even need to fit in there. Let me know what you think. They just seem out of place to me. I'd love to hear your comments about the supernatural. Drop me a comment below about that. Anyway, I loved this game. It reminds me of why I love great arcade video games like this. I mean, shooting RPGs at trucks as they chase me is like every boy's dream as a kid. I think I had a smile on my face the whole time during that battle. So much fun, and ultimately that's what this is all about. I just pictured myself being at the arcade, having fun like that, right? So I was blown away by Drake's Fortune. I had a blast, I love the story, but I didn't realize that this was just the beginning, because believe me when I say, you haven't seen anything yet. Uncharted 2 absolutely blew me away. This game is a masterpiece. So if Drake's Fortune was an opening appetizer, Uncharted 2 Among Thieves is the full-blown steak dinner with garlic mashed potatoes on the side. It's everything I loved from the first game, cranked up to 11. I mean, the opening sequence of the game, you'll find yourself hanging off a derailed train in the Himalayas, barely alive. Why? How did I get here? It doesn't matter. You have to climb your way up this train hanging off the side of a cliff. Tom Cruise must have played this game and then stole the idea for the most recent Mission Impossible movie, because unbelievable. Naughty Dog Studios studied everything that I think made the first game great. The platforming, the third-person shooting, the treasure hunting, and then, you know what? Went back to the lab, polished them up perfectly, and then nailed it in this second edition. So let's talk about the enhanced gameplay mechanics. Again, I noticed right away how much better they were from the first game. This is one of the benefits of playing these games sort of back to back right away, because I can see these like little small subtleties that I might have missed if I played them years apart. I might not remember what the duck and cover was like and all of those things. So the shooting mechanics are much tighter. The cover system is way more responsive. I hated that in the first game. I kind of hated, like I would get stuck to a wall. I was like stuck to a wall, and then like I couldn't get unstuck from the wall fast enough to like get over and do some shooting. I didn't like that. And so the platforming in this one is much better. The covering mechanic is so much better in this one. The set pieces, I mean, if you can imagine, they're somehow even larger and more intense. Each time you find yourself in a new big set piece, my mouth was like always like wide open, like, oh, holy smokes. Like, how did they even pull this off? It's unbelievable. And the adrenaline like never lets up. I mean, my heart was racing through so much of the game. It's just so much fun. It's just intense, but the story is so strong that it pulls it all together. One of my favorite sequences in this whole game involves a man in the Himalaya mountains that saves your life. That character and the interaction are they're just next level.
All right, I'll give you a boost.
What?
What?
Yeah,
Yeah, I still don't speak that.
And I won't ruin anything about it. Just know that I really found that interaction pretty touching and really interesting, and I'll see if you guys agree with me. Let me know down below. There's new puzzles in this game, of course. They're more intricate, they're a lot more satisfying, and they are designed, I think, to make you think but never get frustrated. They don't derail the game. They somehow manage to keep the pacing of the game sort of trucking along. And all these characters, I mean, really feel like you fall in love with in Drake's Fortune are back, right? All of the characters you love. Elena's back, Sully's back, and they're better than ever. Nathan Drake's character is fleshed out even further, revealing more of his like vulnerabilities and his motivations. Elena Fisher, of course, the journalist, returns. We get to see that relationship evolve. But we also get some new characters. We get Chloe Frazer. She is one hell of a character. I mean, the writing, the voice acting for Chloe, astonishing. I mean, she's absolutely fantastic.
Hello, Nate.
Oh, no. No.
Now wait a second.
Sully, kick her out and shut the door. We're safer in here.
So the storytelling in Uncharted 2 is like next level. The narrative takes you from Istanbul to Nepal to the fabled city of Shambhala. Once again, though, there's this weird supernatural twist with some Yetis. I just think, once again, it just feels unnecessary. Like, it would have been totally fine to just remove this entire Yeti subplot, and the game wouldn't suffer at all. But the game is so much fun that I don't even care. Like, I'm willing to overlook that. Big deal, there's some Yetis. Okay, I get it. Visually, Uncharted 2 is a masterpiece. Released in 2009, just 2 years after the first game, but the level of detail in the environments is like staggering, and it looks better than a lot of games released today, okay? The character models are also a step up just 2 years later. I think one of the most remarkable aspects of Uncharted 2 is how it blends everything so brilliantly. I mean, you have the gameplay, which is fantastic, but then it flows right into narrative, right? Then it flows right into movie theater level drama, then it flows right back again. This is the template that so many games try to copy now, and I think they fall flat. I mean, heck, think about it for a second. They made an Uncharted movie that's not as good as the video game. An entire Hollywood blockbuster movie, but the video game experience as a movie is better. That's saying something. So let's talk about the set pieces in number 2, because they are some of the most memorable moments I've ever experienced in any video game ever. Again, no spoilers, but you've got the train sequence at the beginning that we talked about. Then you're on top of a speeding train, which was an absolute blast, through the mountains, or you're in a collapsing building in Nepal. And each of the set pieces is, again, like just a masterclass in game design, visually mind-blowing, but they're also interactive. I mean, it's like you're controlling Tom Cruise in a Mission Impossible movie. It's so much fun. So Uncharted 2 Among Thieves is without a doubt one of the best video games I've ever played. It takes everything that was good about the first game and it amplifies the heck out of it. I mean, if space aliens came down and asked you to describe like the perfect video game, I would just hand them Uncharted 2 because it encapsulates everything I love about video games in one package. It's like being a kid again in the arcade. I would have spent all of my quarters on this game if this game existed in the arcade. But then we move along to Uncharted 3, Drake's Deception, and then you have to bear in mind, right, that they're trying to top Uncharted 2, which is incredibly difficult to do, but they did an amazing job. But I will say the game is a tad weird and quite a bit different from Uncharted 2. But again, it's a damn blast to play. I loved the beginning of this game, playing as young Nathan Drake, running into a much younger Sully, learning how they become friends, their adventures together. This narrative structure is a little bit different, okay, than the first one. It's not as tight as number 2 for sure, in my opinion. But still, the puzzles in Uncharted 3 are some of the coolest in the entire series and often require you to sort of piece together clues that are scattered throughout the whole game, because a lot of the puzzles in Uncharted 2 and 1 are solved like just in that room, right? But in 3, you're getting to pull pieces from different parts of the world, and I think that was really cool in this game. The set pieces are once again astonishing. I mean, one of my favorites is this dilapidated mansion towards the beginning of the game. It's all falling down, and you have to find some hidden stuff inside. And of course, like any good Uncharted game, the bad guys always seem to show up and mess everything up, right? And then you get to battle your way through a dilapidated cruise ship that looks like it was decommissioned in the 1980s. Whoever thought of that idea deserves an absolute award, because that was an amazingly fun experience. So much fun as the waves are crashing around you. The attention to detail in this level is just staggering, with the water sort of flooding through certain corridors, the ship tilting at precarious angles. It's, again, a masterclass in game design that just kept me on the edge of my seat, and my heart was pounding through so much of it, especially having to escape the water at certain parts. Oh my God. I was like, no, come on, come on, come on, come on. So much fun. And then later you have a crazy deserted desert city of Rub al Khali, which is so eerie. It's so beautiful and stunning to kind of look at it. Uncharted 3 adds some new combat mechanics that are really amping up the sort of hand-to-hand combat stuff. So you're having to dodge out of the way, make sure you're dodging correctly, fight back with a few punches, making sure that you can kick the guy in the nuts and all of this stuff. A lot of fun, a lot of fun. And there's a lot of moments where you're just not using a gun because of that. And that was really cool. That was a cool new mechanic that they really fleshed out in this game. The story really delves into Drake's past, showing a lot more about his motivations, what makes him want to go on these adventures in the first place. And the story really shows off how this game is more about relationships, actually, than treasure hunting. I really got that from these games, from this game particularly. I have to say, playing through the Uncharted series for the first time really felt like binge watching a Netflix show. You know the feeling, right? When you find a show that you really love, you just can't stop watching it. That's what these games were for me, the first 3 games in this series. They gave me that same feeling. And it's funny, a friend of mine loved these games, but all the climbing bothered him, and he said he felt like he was playing a monkey simulator from time to time. So I laughed about that, because every time Drake had to climb up something, I would always hear my friend's voice in my head saying, hey, have fun with your monkey simulator, and I was always laugh about that. I personally didn't feel that way. I actually enjoyed the climbing, and I enjoyed the jumping and trying to figure out how to get around certain objects, and certain levels to navigate it. I actually enjoyed that. It didn't bother me at all. But I think the reason it didn't bother me is because the pacing of these games is so damn good. I mean, you go from combat to narrative to puzzle solving to back to some climbing to narrative. It just kept flowing perfectly, and they don't linger on any one thing too long. Anyway, I hope we get more games like this, 8 to 10 hours long, great set pieces, great storytelling, amazing combat, arcade action, just over-the-top fun. I mean, come on, that's what we want, right? At the end of the day, these games were like a warm blanket, comfort food at the end of a long workday, and I've absolutely loved it. So yes, I was years behind the crowd on Nathan Drake's adventures, but that's okay, it's better late than never. So there you go, guys. That's my deep dive into these first 3 Uncharted games. And like I said, I'm going to save Uncharted 4 for maybe during the holiday season, during the Christmas holiday. I'll sit down, pour myself a drink, and have a lot of fun playing Uncharted 4. So I can't wait to experience that game. So thank you guys so much for subscribing, being a part of our channel here, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about the first 3 Uncharted games down below. And we'll see you next time, everyone.